share my screen with you. Just a sec. So we're looking at the last, so hopefully you've done a CMYK, and we're looking at this one. This one involves looking at primaries, looking at tints and shades. So let me just get the this one up to show you. So this is the, it's all the way over there. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, if you need to move around with Illustrator artboards, hold down the space bar and you'll see your cursor changes to a hand. That works for all your programs. The same as Apple Plus or Command Plus zooms up and Apple Minus zooms out. So those commands are really good to get your head around for all your programs in all your classes. So Command or Apple Plus and Command or Apple Minus, and then just use the spacebar key to move yourself around. So if you need to navigate. So that just might help some of the awkwardness of scrolling. So what we're looking at here is a slightly more complex colour wheel than the others. And we will work in RGB mode for this, not Pantones, etc. And we're just going to fill these in basically. So what you're looking at here in the middle is your primary colours. And then when we do this in paint, because we are going to have a go at this in paint, when you mix these two in paint, you end up with the green. So that's your secondary colour. So you're mixing yellow and blue to get the green. And then you do the same here. You've got your primary yellow. When you mix it with red, you get the orange. And then that's the same colour you're putting here. So you put, once you've got your orange selected, you put it straight out here. And then we're going to add in a tint, which is a lighter version of that, and a shade. When we're working with paint, you'd be adding black to get that shade. When we're working with paint, you'd be adding white to get that. So it is a little different when you're working with the colours on screen. So when you get the primary colour red mixed with the primary colour blue, you should get a violet. In paint, that'll look quite dark. Then you put that colour there, and then you find the tint and the shade of it. And I'll show you in a minute how you do that in Illustrator. So then we get to the steps in between. So the first thing you'll do is you'll get your yellow and then you'll put it there. You'll get your blue and you'll put it there, and so on. And so you straight away use the same colour for the primary and the secondary out here. And then you just have to find the steps in between. So you can see that this secondary colour becomes a tertiary colour. It's now a mixture of a secondary, which is the green here, which we know was made of the two primaries, and then we're mixing the primary with the secondary to get that in-between step. So it's a yellow-green. And the same here. Here's our primary, the yellow. Here's our secondary, the orange, and we mix the secondary with the primary to get that yellow looking orange. So all the way around the wheel you'll do the same thing. So you're mixing the primary red with the secondary orange to get a more red orange. And then we're going to go, and once you've done this on screen, it'll be really easy when we get into TAFE, and I'm going to get you to do this on paint, with paint. You'll understand what you're doing. So with the red, obviously there's the red, you put it out there, and then you mix it with the secondary, which is the violet, to get that step in between. So it's a red violet. And then you simply add once you get that colour, you're going to add the tints. So I hope that makes sense. There's a primary set in here, mix two primaries, you're going to get the secondary. You put the secondary out there, and then you mix that secondary with a primary to get the step in between. So we've got our secondary, which is the violet, and we mix it with the blue, which is a primary, and we get that step in between there, which is sort of a blue-violet. And then we want a greenish blue. How do we get that? Well, we've got our primary blue out here. We mix it with our secondary green here to get that in-between step. And then we simply make a tint of that, and then a shade of it would be adding black. But on screen, obviously, we're not adding black. So when you've kind of have a look, it's kind of got a little bit of a code here just showing you the different combinations. So yellow, yellow, green, 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 blue, plus green, blue. So that's just to kind of help you understand what you're trying to do. So then go to your blank. I'll find the right blank, sorry. Blank, yeah. And then you're going to, just before you start though, do you remember last time I talked about the colour modes? So go to the edit menu and just check what colour settings you're in. Sorry, just got to find it.
In file.
Oh yeah, I've gone to the wrong place. Thank you. File. So document setup, yeah? So your document colour mode. So you can see at the moment this file is in CMYK. Generally, we don't work in CMYK because that's the converted version of your file that you'll be sending to print. Normally, you want to work with RGB colours in all your programs. Yeah, so just make sure you go there, File, Document Setup, Document Colour Mode, and make sure it's RGB. So RGB we know has a wider range of colours. So that word colour gamut just means a wider range of colours. So RGB has kind of, you know, millions. It's the closest to what we can see. CMYK mode has far less because it's colours that are made up of particular cheaper inks, cyan, magenta, yellow and black, K standing for black. And we know that we can never get that vast range of colours. So once we want to convert it to commercial print though, to use those cheap CMYK colours, that's when we would be working and switching to CMYK mode. So working mode is usually RGB across all your programs. So once you're ready to go, you should find that these are all unconnected. If you find they're still grouped, you can just select the whole thing and go Object Ungroup. Well, they are already ungrouped. If they're not, you would find you'd be able to hit Ungroup. So that's just in case some of them aren't in your version of it. So once you're in there, you just want your RGB swatches. So these ones will be RGB. These are usually just your, oh, it says CMYK, so sorry. So let's just switch to colour and go, oh, why is it being that? So I'll just get the colours up. So you can go to your swatch libraries, and if you say web, for example, they're going to be RGB. And they're going to be nice and bright, so you could use those. Let's see what else we've got in there. I should be able to just reset the swatches to RGB. No. It's not giving it to us. Well, I think these, no, they're just showing, no, well, they might be RGB. They should be. They should be now in RGB if we're in RGB mode. I think it's just the display isn't saying it. Yeah. Because the document's in RGB, they should be coming in as RGB colours. Then to get your tints and shades, once you've got that colour selected, you can see you get under colour guide. So to find colour guide, just go to the window menu and it's colour guide. And if your swatches aren't showing, just go down to swatches. You can see that, swatches, and just turn that on so you've got your swatches up. So these ones will definitely be RGB. So you can see slight differences in the colour. So you're definitely getting RGB colours there. And they're web safe. It's giving you the web colour as well. So you'll know these are RGB. And so maybe use this part so we know where they definitely are RGB. So keep going with it and see how you go. Once you've got your yellow selected, for example, then you want to go to this one here and put the same yellow in there. And then the next one up is a tint. So that's when you can go to Colour Guide. So again, if it's not open, go to Window Colour Guide and then just select one of these that you like as a tint. I might go a bit lighter. And then the last one here would be a shade. So you could pick either of those. So then for the red, go for a red. I mean, I might just take the red off here because I think that's pretty close to it. And this one, just your standard swatches, that's okay. And then come across, put the same red in there, and then get your tint, which is one of these you can choose. A little bit of personal preference there. And then out there is the shade, which is adding black. So just go along that top line to pick the shade you want. You can go really dark or the one that's intermediate. Same for the blue. Well, let's go for a good sort of medium blue. And then let's put the same blue out there. So make sure it's the same one. And then get your tints and then your shades. So doing this exercise will really help you when I ask you to do the paint version of it. So obviously these colours on screen will be, because we know they're RGB, they're going to be a lot brighter than your paint mixes. But this exercise will help you understand what you're doing once you start doing a painted colour wheel, working with pigments. It won't look the same because we know these RGB colours are a lot brighter. So looking at the primary colours now, if we think about a combination of two of these, we're looking for an orange. So a combination of those is going to be an orange. And then again, put the same orange out there. Sorry, the same orange. What am I doing? And then pick a tint of it. I might go lighter. And then pick the last one to be one of those shades. Okay, then the tricky thing then is you've got to find the step in between. So what happens when I mix the yellow primary with the orange, which we know is the secondary, to get this step in between. So we're wanting a yellow-orange to turn up as a step in between these two colours. So it's got to be a much yellowier orange. So it might be something like that. And then do the same thing. Go for, see, once you've got that colour selected, whatever you've got selected, this will show up straight away in tints and shades. So it makes it pretty easy to do this. Then that's my tint, and then go and pick the shade that you like. So just keep working with that. Just remember now we're doing the step in between. So the step in between is going to be a bit more red to it. So whichever red you've picked, you want to imagine mixing those two together to get a reddier orange. So steer away from the magenta ones. We want a reddier orange. Might not follow, they're too magenta-y. So it's got to be a reddier orange. Not really seeing what I want here. Not really happy with that. Maybe that one. Or that one, that's better. That's more like it. So you can see that clearly looks like an orange that has more red to it. Then come out here and once again I get my tints. Pick the tint that you like and then the shade that you think kind of matches. Like, that's a bit too dark. Maybe that one or that one. Okay, so hopefully just by watching what I've been doing, you've got the idea. So I've got my red, and I know that what I'm mixing here is the red and the blue to get a violet. So down here I should get a violet. So it's going to be a mixture of these two. And then as soon as I'm here, I want to stick with the same violet in there and then go to this next step, get the tint, and then the last step, get the shade. So I'll stop there, but I think you should have the idea. And then with, the last one, the two primaries here, obviously mixing blue with yellow should give you a really strong mid kind of green. So looking for something that's a bit mid-green, not really seeing it there. So I'll go for that one. That's probably more like it. And then put that same, whichever swatch you use for that, put the same one out there. And again, it's going to show up here in the tints and shades. So I'll just get rid of that. So then put your tints and then your shade, which is that darker one. It's adding black. So when we get into the classroom, I'll be asking you to make a physical one of these mixing paint. So once you've done this process, you're going to know what you're trying to do to recreate this in class. So have a go, and then obviously find the steps in between, which is mixing your secondary with a primary to get that tertiary third step in between. So that should be enough to get you going. I'll stop recording now, and I'll make a separate recording where I just step over the things we did last week with the colour wheels. So that just means that people who are up to this stage can go ahead with this exercise, and if